I am EC3. I am the man.
This guy continues and continues to amaze me.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
I'm pretty sure Ishii is held together by cement.
I wasn't supposed to win championships and get to the top of every company I've ever walked into, but I have.
This has to be one of the greatest matches I've ever watched in my life.
Because the Bullet Club, we rule the world.
Well, I'll tell you what, fella. You may be good in Man United, you may be good in front of the goal, but I'll tell you what, you got no chance in the WWE ring. Don't worry about King Barra. He's a little soft, but he wants someone hard. You want a real fight? Just take on the Celtic Warrior. I'll be ready and waiting in that ring in Manchester, Even News Arena. You come down anytime you want. The only problem is there's more Manchester City supporters than Manchester.
Oh, that just got very real very quick.
You want much support, I'll tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Deezer.
Hello and welcome to, yes, you are reading this right, hearing this right, Wrestle the Max episode 191, part 1. We are the Every Wrestling Fan podcast, and we are a presentation of the W2M Network and a partnership with ForMania.com and LastWordOnSports.com. Gary, what the hell are we doing a show on a Tuesday morning?
On a Monday?
It's a Tuesday morning.
Oh, Tuesday morning. Yeah, I guess you could say it that way. Well, on the East Coast, it is. For me and Paul, it's still technically, Monday night. Yeah. So
it's all about the Eastern time.
Yeah, Sean's in his DeLorean. We're jealous. So, anyway.
This was hilarious because Harry kept trolling Patrick during Wrestling on Route about how Eastern time is the only time that matters. So I was just trying to make that joke.
I know, but Harry has, yeah. Well, we won't get into that. Well, you know what, guys? It is kind of awesome and kind of odd as well. If you're listening to this and you're kind of shocked that you're not listening to us on a Friday morning, well, guess what? We have made some changes here on this podcast, all for good reasons. And actually, this whole process has begun less than 24 hours before you've actually heard this. The reason we're doing this is because we kind of got into some conversation amongst each other about maybe figuring out a way to really help the show to change some things every year about this time, or even, just odd times during the year. We try to think of ways to make the show better, to make it more appealing for you, more entertaining for you, and honestly, a way to help you, because we know how life is. Sometimes you don't have 3 hours to sit down and listen to a podcast. Sometimes you're going on your lunch break. You only got 45 minutes. You want to get this show in, and you just can't. So we are going to hopefully help you out with that by having 2 shows a week instead of 1. And we're going to do that this way. We're going to do part 1, which is going to be on Monday nights, where we're talking Monday Night Raw. We'll also be talking Ring of Honor as well, because guess what? Ring of Honor gets kind of old by the time we get to Thursday, Friday. So we want to make sure we're able to cover those 2 shows on a Monday night. Of course, it'll be on the download on Tuesdays for everyone. That kind of helps you. We'll have some quick hits, some news for you guys that are, basically all the big stuff that happened over the weekend. And then on Thursday night, our other show will be part 2, and that'll cover all the other shows like Lucha Underground, also TNA Impact Wrestling. We're also going to cover a lot more quick hits than we usually do, because it's going to become more of a topical-based show. So there's some changes in place there. Of course, our Superstar of the Week will always stay on Thursday night. So this is good, Sean. I think this is a good decision. This is going to help us because you'll have shorter shows, and I think that helps people.
Yeah, well, definitely that's the whole point. The biggest feedback we got from everybody was the show is too long. It takes me 3 or 4 different times to be able to listen to the 3 hours, and of course, also, even though you guys have timestamps, there's still stuff that you guys talk about I don't care about. So if you space things out, it gives people more of a chance to listen in a shorter time span, and also helps me out a lot because Gary does the football podcast with me, but I do other podcasts. And having to do sometimes like 2 or 3 of these extras on Sundays after I've already done that the podcast with Patrick and Harry, I'm like dead. So this makes it to where the only time we're ever going to have an extra now, or not an extra, but is when we do a WWE pay-per-view. Those will always be on Sundays with Harry and Patrick and us, unless we get in a situation like WrestleMania. So if ROH or New Japan has a show over the weekend, those will always be on the Monday show now.
Yeah, I think the only exception would be Wrestle Kingdom. I think Wrestle Kingdom will always get its special show because that's a giant event. That's an event that's basically WrestleMania 2, or whatever you want to call it. Usually, sometimes it's better than WrestleMania, like this year's Wrestle Kingdom. So, I mean, saying that, we are, like Sean's saying, going to be WWE pay-per-view primarily on Sunday nights. All the New Japan stuff we usually do, like Sean is saying, is going to be on this show, the Monday show. Unless there's anything that's barring or anything that needs to be changed, we will let you guys know that. If you're lucky enough to really have paid attention and read the Facebook group, you know that this show is out there. If you're not, and you're not really up on that, you're probably listening to this on a Friday saying, man, I wish I'd have known about it. They had to tell me on Thursday that this show existed. So we hope you're up to date. This is what's going to happen on a normal basis. 2 shows a week, 1 on Tuesday on the download and 1 on Friday on the download for you guys. And if you want to listen live, if you're ever wanting to come check us out, get on the board with us, chat, let us know what you think, you can always hit us up. We're always doing this show around about midnight Eastern and a little bit later sometimes. So you good on that. Look us up on Spreaker.com. You'll find us that way live, just like we are now. And it's always just a good way to kind of, hey, maybe make your thoughts known live and in person if you're up late. So we appreciate you guys, and we, we're doing this for you and for us too. But we're hopefully helping you guys with your time and all. Well, guys, just to kind of get things kind of wound up here, we're going to definitely talk about some Monday Night Raw. We're also going to talk some TNA Impact. Some big news has happened, and it's all about what's going on with their selling or not selling of the company. We'll get into all that and more on this episode. Plus, we're going to jump into some quick hits. We have quite a few to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get into this thing, guys. Let's go ahead and huddle down and talk some Monday Night Raw.
WWE Monday Night Raw.
Alrighty. Well, as most of you probably know, this Raw, being from London, was taped. So the spoilers were out there 3 or 4 hours before Raw happened. So perhaps this wasn't the greatest Raw to debut the thing, this deal on. But, still, a Raw we need to discuss. And also another Raw where Shane McMahon was present. And after rumors had gone wild that the Authority might actually show up on this show, they did not. No Authority, no Vince for the 3rd week in a row. The only bad thing is, usually for this kind of Raw, because it's taped, the ratings don't go up. And the ratings have kind of been down with Shane. So are we worried that it's going to go down again?
Maybe. I mean, the show is different. In the last couple of weeks, I felt like we've been okay. I haven't watched this week's, but reading reviews and stuff, it sounds kind of directionless almost. Like, it doesn't flow very well. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there, Paul. At times, it does feel like that. There are some storylines that are kind of in place. You kind of see some direction, but at times it is very chaotic. At times, you're kind of wondering, okay, why does this not feel formulaic? And I think we've gotten used to a certain style we've gotten used to just seeing the Authority and being heavily based on the Authority and what's going on with them. And now with the people in charge, which is Shane right now, not really in place a lot. At the beginning of this episode, he is. But after that, he's not there anymore. It's got a lot more wrestling involved, and that's a good thing. But you're right. I think it's kind of a weird thing, Sean. As I watched this episode, I just kind of looked at it and said, okay, I enjoyed this. Some of these things I wasn't a big fan of. But it does kind of seem like at times it was just kind of thrown against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of seems to be what they want to do with Shane's MO of sort of give you that you don't know what to expect feel. And I think that sort of works in this circumstance. They're at this point, I think they're really just trying to throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks, especially with all of the new talent. And this was a show that was heavy again on the new... and nobody debuted, but it was heavy on the new talent, new direction for the women, all this stuff. All the initiatives that they've put in place since WrestleMania on continue with this show. And they want to make Shane appear to be the guy that is bringing in all this fresh stuff. And it's great. It seems fresh, but I think the problem might be that it's sending the casual crowd in kind of like a tailspin, like, hold on, whoa, there's too many people. There's like so much stuff going on, I don't know what to make of all of it. But for us that have been like digging through, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but like, to me, I've really enjoyed these last 3 weeks because it doesn't feel like that formula that we've been getting for almost 2 years now with the Authority being there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there and understand that. And it is kind of odd because of the fact that the new talent that is in place is great. We've watched these guys for a long time. Everyone that we've seen have been NXT superstars. We've watched them, go through many different feuds in NXT. So we are very, familiar with their work. We kind of understand who they are, what they're about. We also are New Japan watchers, so we know all about Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. We know about those guys. So there's really nothing new for us, and that's great. But I kind of wonder for those casuals that you're talking about, Sean, people that just have no idea who these people are, where they're coming from. I'm sure it is a tailspin. I'm sure it's very hard to watch at times because they're just not sure how to feel, what to think. And, of course, you've got Roman Reigns as your champion now, and not exactly a fan favorite when it comes to the male demographic, kids and women, sure. So I think this is all of a sudden in people's face, and they're just not sure where to go. I think that's the deal. Like I said, for us, we understand it. We know these characters, but at times I still kind of feel it's kind of chaotic, and I know them all.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's certainly chaotic is a word, and I don't mind the chaos, but it's not organized chaos. It's just it's chaos. It's going off in a lot of different directions. You have feuds that are sort of, kind of going on, and some of them just sort of seem. Obviously, a lot of like AJ and Roman Reigns is sort of percolating because we don't really know what's going where there, and that's fine because that's still fresh. Dean and Jericho kind of have a lame reason for a feud right now, but it's whatever. And then you have Sammy and Kevin Owens, who are seemingly being kept apart, but will clash every once in a while. And I get what they're trying to go for there. I don't know if it's working all that well. And then they're trying to put the tag teams forward. They're trying to rebuild the women's. There's a lot going on. It's just not like Raw used to have a flow. It doesn't feel like it has that flow.
Exactly. And the only stable thing that we really can latch onto, and it's funny to say this, is the New Day. Mm-hmm. Really the only thing, and the reason they are the most stable is because guess what? You can put the New Day anywhere on the card, and they feel like home compared to, other guys. I mean, hey, even Cesaro, he's been injured for so long now. It's kind of different seeing Cesaro back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and again, this whole thing starts off sort of in that manner with, okay, you got Ambrose coming out here to do the Ambrose Asylum, be crazy, right? And then his guest is Shane. So basically, Shane, it's sort of like an Ambrose sort of introducing Shane. So it's not Shane having to come out and do the same thing as last week, which I think it's something that the Authority doesn't really do. So, I mean, they do it sometimes where they have other people come out and then they come out afterwards. But this is okay because we're still trying to establish this Ambrose Asylum thing. They're trying to see if it sticks. Ambrose is also with the England crowd that's going to love him. They were chanting Dino several times at him, especially when he makes the joke that really gets over, which now I can't place it at the moment, but it was funny. And basically Shane, again, does the whole thing where he sort of outlines the show, except for this time, again, Kevin Owens comes out, which I guess now it's like Kevin Owens the only heel against the McMahon Authority figure, and he makes a point about the fact that it's still the same crap because it's still the McMahon running Raw, But other than that, I mean, then Sammy comes in and they make this is where we get Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn officially announced for Payback, and Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho officially announced for Payback. And then we're getting Jericho and Zayn rematch from SmackDown. And the Kevin Owens-Ambrose match will be the main event that we've seen many times, but can't ever complain about, this match is going to be good. So it's kind of hard to complain about it. It's still like that. It's not like the one from last week that sort of felt different. This one really felt like, again, that, okay, we got to have an opening talking segment, so let's just do it. I don't know. What'd you think, Gary?
Yeah, it does its job. It kind of sets up a little bit of the show, not the entire show. Like we talked about earlier, the Authority would always come down, basically run down the entire card, what's going to happen, get you pumped up for what they want you to be pumped up about. This is very different, which I'm okay with. This is good. You get like I said, two feuds kind of put in one segment, and you understand it. You kind of run with it, and Shane did a good job himself. He seems like he's getting more and more comfortable as time goes on. The more he's on the mic, so I was thrilled about that. Overall, I had no problem with any of this. I really didn't. I think both feuds are doing okay. Of course, I'm going to be a huge fan of the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn feud. That's normal. And this whole Jericho and Ambrose thing, it's revving up. It's still in its infancy. It's still kind of revving up to me, but I think I could warm them up to it. It's just, I think they got to put it in a little bit of hyperdrive because they got to have a pretty big turnaround. When we get to this next pay-per-view, it's only they only have one more show before they have to get there.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Sean, I don't know about you, and I'm kind of curious, Paul, from what you've seen, I haven't seen enough to really make me go, oh man, I cannot wait to see this match. I love these guys. I love both wrestlers, but emotionally not really into it yet.
I mean, all we have is that silly segment from last week right now.
Yep, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a really silly feud because there's no, like you said, there's no heat. They're feuding over a talk show. There's no investment from the fans in a talk show. Yeah. And I get it that it matters to Jericho, but it doesn't matter to us in the least. I think it's another talking segment. And
I
big deal.
I don't know what's worse, this or the Japanese shampoo match from it. But it's not the first time WWE has had. It's not the first time that they've had people feud over a talk show either. So
right.
It's they had Miz and Jericho just do it. And guess what? AJ is once again going to be on Miz TV on SmackDown. So I love how they're acting like that hasn't happened before. So
just really quickly. Just really quickly before you move away from this, though, I want to kind of make a point about the fact that I'm a big Chris Jericho fan. He's probably my favorite wrestler of all time. Well, at least with WWE, for sure. I love that guy. But, besides just the point that, hey, he gets to, have a match with Dean Ambrose, which I'm thrilled about before, you don't ever see Chris Jericho again. It's just, that's about it for me. And so I'm hoping people who are just casual fans can enjoy it for what it's worth, besides the fact that they gave us no heat between these two, really. No strong heat.
Yeah.
Right.
That seems to be WWE's MO sometimes with some of these. They don't understand how to actually focus on all the feuds at once, so there's always going to be some of those that are kind of just left there.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to hope the fans get into them,
I would certainly just take them trying to get us invested.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they do have, a SmackDown and a Raw and a SmackDown left, so let's see. But, their record on Go Home shows is very wishy-washy, so
right.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I mean, after this, we had that first match that was introduced with Jericho and Zayn. I thought it was good. They have this problem at the end as well with Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. You already have actually both guys that are in a match against each other lose on this show. So both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, even though Zayn loses because Jericho uses the referee and all this stuff to hit a code breaker, but it's just, I don't see how that's good for anybody. You already have both guys that are in a feud against each other, even though it's not against each other, it's against the guys that are in the other feud, lose. When you've already announced, and you just announced the match. I mean, I don't know if that makes them look good at all.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. Sami Zayn has had very little success on the main roster so far, which is understandable. When he lost this match, I kept thinking to myself, okay, I get it. They're doing the right thing for Jericho because Jericho needs to be a viable superstar on this roster. He needs to have wins. He can't just be I don't mean no disrespect to Mark Henry, but for the most part, Mark Henry's putting people over. You know what's going to happen. He's going to lose to guys like Bo Dallas just because, hey, he's doing his job, putting the guys over. Jericho's not at that point. Jericho's still playing as that main event player at a point, not completely, but at a point. And so you get the victories that are happening for Jericho, but at the same time, I feel bad for Zayn because Zayn is on this roster in front of a lot of casuals who don't really know much about this guy, and they're trying to figure out why the fans chant for this guy, why they sing a song, because this guy never wins.
Well, I mean, in England now, he's obviously going to be awesome, but that's the problem. The other fans, like you're saying, Gary,
mm-hmm.
are already conditioned that England is basically the Raw after Mania. Like, they're going to be crazy there, but don't listen to them because the next week it's not going to be like that.
You're exactly right. When they get to small town Indiana, that's not going to happen. You're going to have people just silent when Zayn comes out because they're just like, well, whatever. So I just think that that's a problem. I think you got to give him some success here. Not that he should have beat Jericho tonight. I get maybe why, but then again, maybe he should have. I don't know. I worry about Zayn. Kevin Owens has got to be the Goto right now. Him and Goto have to be on the phone with each other talking about how many matches can we both lose?
Technically
right
Goto
now
did win the last match, but
I guess, he got some success. He was offered a little bit more than Kevin Owens is right now. But at a point, there was a time, so maybe that's why Kevin Owens is calling.
I mean, yeah, but you're right. In
win?
2 straight weeks, what has Kevin Owens been doing? Losing. Of course, they do this with Kevin Owens. They did it with Kevin Owens for a while before as well. So what do you think, Paul? Sammy's always been one that he didn't really win that much on NXT either. Does it hurt him?
I think it does because he's still so new to the main roster. He's had brief appearances here and there, but never anything that's really been like, hey, this is somebody we should pay attention to and watch and appreciate and get behind. He's a great underdog, but you got to give him the story. And it seems like with the booking of making these two matches cross over, instead of making these guys look strong in their own individual matches or something like that, they appear to book themselves in a corner and just have them face off one-on-one. And I think this loss to Jericho certainly hurts Zayn. I'm not saying that maybe either guy should have won. Maybe have this go to a no finish or something like that, where it just breaks out into a brawl. But I don't know. It feels like there's a better way to achieve what you want to get out of this.
I mean, Kevin Owens is so slimy. Why is he not in here just screwing Sami Zayn every opportunity that's there? Just,
where's Dean being a nut job and beating up Jericho? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it just doesn't right now. Looking at this, it doesn't say much for NXT guys, does it? I mean, of course, Ambrose is an NXT guy too, but it's been a long time compared to these two.
I think
these
Ambrose
two are a little
is
fresh.
the only guy that's not. Ambrose did not show up on NXT at all, out of the 3 Shield guys.
I thought he. He made some appearances on NXT.
Yeah,
when
with the Shield.
Yeah.
When the Shield showed up a couple of times, but remember Reigns was there for a cup of coffee. And Rollins, of course, was there for a while, but
he was the big guy there. Yeah, so
right.
you're that's a good point too. I mean, you're right. That makes it even worse now thinking about that, because the fact that the 2 NXT guys are the guys taking the fall. So what does that say about the NXT brand, in a way?
I mean, I think Kevin Owens has been out of NXT so long. I think he's obviously firmly established as a WWE roster guy now. But you're right in that Zayn is that lone NXT guy still, and he loses and. You're having some of these other NXT guys look strong right now. So, but again, you also have so many other NXT guys, and then you add in the new guys that weren't part of NXT, AJ and Gallus and Anderson, that somebody's got to lose,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know. Sammy's one of those that, yeah.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, I have to ask this because I was thinking about this watching this match and maybe even both matches to an extent, but Sami Zayn is the one I'm focusing on because I'm so concerned. Thinking back in the history of different guys that have come in, you can even go back to the 90s, the 80s, I don't care how far you want to go back. But, when a guy loses like this, and is there a possibility for him just to become a winner later on and really matter? Because I think that it can. But I just have so much concerns right now.
I think you see that really often nowadays, where guys will come in, they maybe won't impress you so much at the beginning until they find something that really fits them. And I think the New Day, a great example. They get saddled with a gimmick. They weren't really coming up from anywhere, but they certainly didn't feel like they mattered for a very long time until they managed to turn around much later on. There are so many other examples. I'm sure just the New Day pop out to me currently. But we haven't seen anybody from NXT really bounce back after the opening debut, I think. 'Cause, I mean, you could maybe give Neville a little bit of a shot at that, because obviously he had the SummerSlam thing with Stephen Amell, and that was cool, and nothing really came out of that. But you have a lot of options, and it just, WWE feels like they're bringing up these guys that have a lot of hype around them, and then they seemingly do nothing with them. So I wonder if that's the test. Like, here's a thing. You're going to do this for a little bit, then you're going to disappear for a while until we decide that we need you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's not just NXT guys, though, too. I mean, you think about the fact that guys like Ryback, he pushed, we forgot about you. Push, then we forget about you.
Well, Ryback this time didn't really get pushed. They just did something so you could have a match. But you're right. Ryback's been through that. I think then you also get the opposite, right? Like, you get Paige and Kevin Owens and even Bray, who were pushed strong at the beginning, and then they went into nothingness. To the point where, like, Paige, of course, also hurt herself, because she tends to do this. She went on one of those Wizard World things, talked crap, saying that, WWE doesn't even know what they're doing with me right now. I don't know if I'm a face or a heel or whatever. Then she gets squashed by Emma in about 3 minutes on SmackDown. So,
yeah,
maybe you shouldn't talk on one of these things like that. They're always paying attention, whether you think they're not. Not that Emma couldn't use a win or anything. She certainly could have. And I think you could also make a case that it makes Emma look good because she's sort of in a feud with Becky right now. So even though I don't remember them even... What's weird is this, they've sort of been making this Emma and Becky thing a feud, but you know where they've been doing the feud at? On WWE.com. Like, can
That's
they
not
not
helping.
get screen time at all?
Yeah.
I
I guess they want you to pay attention to social media, the website, everything, and sure, kids follow that stuff, but make it a Twitter war, not a
And why
.com
was
war.
Emma not in the 8-person match? What does Summer Rae have to do with any of this? Like, like I get Paige because it's England, but at least Emma, sort of there's still a lot of there might the whole Australia used to be part of England thing, and whatever. I mean, just the point that she's sort of involved in stuff with Becky Lynch. I mean, it don't make no sense to have her not be on this in that match, but whatever. So moving. One thing I will say is, Marinello is so great that even as a backstage interviewer, he trumps everyone except for maybe Renee Young. His first crack that we get is he interviews AJ. And then guess who shows up? Anderson and Gallows. So AJ basically introduces them to everybody. And Carl's like, hey, thanks for putting in the good word for us. And, we got your back, man. We got your back. So, AJ's all happy to see them and everything. And later, Roman Reigns comes out to talk because, he's got to say his catchphrase, guys.
Oh.
I mean, it's just... Does it have to be the first line that he says every time now? Like literally, Paul, he comes out and that's what he has to say. Like, just...
Boy. I'll tell you what, just reading things, the AJ, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson drama sounds the most interesting on this show. Because there's intrigue there. It actually feels like this is going somewhere. Like, there's the wild card of those two, and then you have Reigns doing whatever he's doing, and then you have AJ, who is all sorts of interesting just because it's still surreal to see him on WWE television. So, I mean, I like this, I think. This sounds really fun.
And the Usos are sort of also involved. Do you think there's a chance... Now, I've heard so many different things. Do you think, normally when you have the whole buddies go in the backstage segment, it's a total, hey, they're going to turn on him, right? Mm-hmm. But they hit Reigns from behind during this talking segment, where AJ does come out as AJ is walking away. So AJ makes it seem like he has nothing, he doesn't know what's going on, he has nothing to do with it. Do you think it's sort of AJ being coy, or could there be a chance that it's a turn of fortune and it's Doc and Carl joining Roman? Even though I would say that if anybody needs a new coat of paint, and the pun is intended, it would be the Usos. Change that orange and blue to like black. It would so go for you to go with Roman Reigns and have like a new Shield or something. But what do you think? Which one sounds more which one do you think is going to happen, and which one sounds more intriguing to you?
I honest to God hope that this, like, I would love a little twist here, and they turn on AJ and ally up with Reigns, and you have all that going on. I think that would make the whole situation much more interesting, and it would give sympathy to AJ and a reason to care, and a whole lot of other stuff. And then you can freshen up Roman, and then you have your new tag team affiliated with your top guy, and I think it works well for everybody involved. If they, I'm thinking it's more likely that they stick with AJ. They turn AJ heel because Roman has to be the guy. For whatever reason, he's got to be the guy and stand alone and all that stuff.
Yeah. He doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad. He just has to be that guy, right?
You just got to be the guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Got to be the guy.
So, I think your idea on, having, the Anderson and Gallows basically turn against AJ is great, because it does add more depth than it would if they stick with AJ, because it's just normal hat. AJ turns heel, not as big of a deal because he's so new. Roman Reigns turning heel, big deal. So I think that makes more sense when it comes to depth-wise. Now, I hope, this all just works out one day just to kind of work out where they get the Balor Club, Bullet Club. I don't care what they call it. I just want that back together. I really don't care if it takes 6 months, 8 months. I just want to see it happen. So as long as this journey leads to that, I'm cool with whatever happens here. But, that's just the way it's going to have to, work out and eventually.
Honestly, this is going to backfire on them again. Because AJ is going to seem cool. This isn't going to make AJ look bad. People I get it. WWE's in situations where they really want Roman to get cheered, and it's not like people really have sympathy for the Usos. I mean, again, other than the kids and just the people that probably just enjoy doing the Uso thing. Mm-hmm. I don't really think the people are just totally behind them. They come out and you're kind of just like, all right, here are the Usos. They're going to do super kicks and they're going to fly everywhere. And it was entertaining when they first did it. And now they've done it so many times, it's like they don't really do much different. I feel like they're starting to get an attitude about themselves. I kind of felt that in the match, especially in their entrance. They kind of felt like they were more. They were a bit miffed. Mm-hmm. I did like the fact that even though they just had the Vaudevillains kind of win out of nowhere, they played that story of like the Usos are injured, so that's why the Vaudevillains were able to win. So it kind of goes back into that they got beat up by Anderson and Gallows. Whatever. I don't know if you caught it there, Gary. AJ almost said Doc, and then he cut himself off during the interview.
Yes.
But
oh man.
I don't know. I know you didn't see these, Paul, but I mean, they had Enzo and Cass basically just beat the Dudleys. Wasn't anything totally special. The crowd obviously loved their talking stuff.
Of course. Yeah. How could you not?
And then the Vaudevillains kind of just won again with that story of they're hurt. Mm-hmm. So NXT number one contender match at Payback.
I think WWE knows where the money is, and that's Enzo and Cass in the New Day, and just letting them have fun in these talking segments together, and trying to essentially, if they turn into a feud of just trying to one up each other, and eventually proving who's the best, perfect. Because this is a nice fresh coat of paint for the tag division. It's somebody fresh for the New Day to feud with because they've beaten everybody else, and it's not like the division was super deep anyway. So I'm okay with this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's all about entertainment, and those two teams right there are going to entertain the fans to no end. I think, even when we talked about the small town in Indiana or, someplace in, I don't know, Northern Dakota, they're going to love Enzo and Kaz, despite the fact they may not know who anybody else is. So it's just because these guys have great personality. Kind of the same goes with the New Day. So I don't have any problems with this. I think it's going to work out fine. I do want to say this, and I'll kind of rewind because I didn't get a chance to talk about this really quickly. But I'm in total agreement with Sean on the Usos. I think that fresh coat of paint, it needs to happen soon. Roman Reigns and them together would work perfectly because, family plus, of course, that gives them more reason to be tough, not to be so cartoony. They get a chance to kind of have that other side to them. And the Roman Reigns thing I did want to mention before is we keep talking about this catchphrase. We talked about it last Thursday and how much we're not a big fan of it. But it seems to me that WWE's following the philosophy, of course, like John Cena. But not only that, I don't know if you guys have ever seen an old comedian that was on Saturday Night Live by the name, I think his name is Al Franken. He used to do a skit called Stuart Smiley. Do you guys remember that?
I'm not a big SNL guy, so...
Okay. Maybe...
Stuart, the look what I can do thing?
No.
Okay.
You guys will just have to Google it, and if anybody listening doesn't know what I'm talking about, just look up Stuart Smiley, Saturday Night Live, and Al Franken did this skit, and basically... he was a self-motivator, and when things go wrong, he would look in the mirror and he would constantly say, because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. And that's what Roman Reigns is doing to kind of compound these boos. Is he's just looking in that mirror, and this is the way to get past this. If I feel the boos get hot, I just say this catchphrase, and it's all okay. That's what it feels like
okay
every
to
week.
himself. It just makes the boos get louder. So
Exactly, Sean, and that's the point. And everybody else looks at it and says, "No, it's not as good as you think it is." But
the entire segment felt like they were reading a script.
Yes.
And it was so obvious, especially with Roman. He just kept telling AJ how great he is, and I respect you for what you do in here, man. Like, come on. Can we stop with the, being a baby crap? Like, just, if you wanted to, just have some balls, WWE, and just be like, man, I don't care about you. I don't like you. Just... That respect shit is so dumb. It's so, it doesn't work with Roman because people don't respect him. It just, it seems so forced.
And I get tired of the same old things over and over again. I really, really do. Like the whole, if anybody tries to come at me, I'm just going to punch them in the mouth. How many times do we have to hear that? Find something else to say that you're going to do to them.
That's his character.
I get it. I get it. It's, it's part of the whole gimmick. But at the same point, I just wish he would say something else that, I wish instead of punching in the mouth, I wish he would say, I'm going to spear him to the turnbuckle, or I'm going to spear him back up the ring. I don't. Yeah. Change it up. Give another, signature move that you do. Not just the
Superman
same.
Superman punch you to the, through the commentary table. That's what WWE hopes would happen one day. That Superman punch is so awesome. You can just send him to the moon and backwards.
You talked about script. This was very scripted out. It seemed like, at least the way these guys kind of talked, it did. Another thing, Sean, and
I think it's also I'm sure that part of that's they don't feel confident in AJ being able to ad lib. So you've got two guys that WWE is not comfortable with ad libbing, and it's like, oh boy,
Well, and I think the script got in the way of the guys that I like, and I'm pretty much a big, huge fan of Cesaro, but Miz is okay himself. I don't have any problems with Miz, but they kind of stumbled on their words a little bit during their promo, and I kind of wondered if that was because of scripting.
That the scripting is so weird because it does help people, and then when you can really feel like they're really with Cesaro, it just felt like we're trying to make him seem cool by saying stuff from movies. Like, he literally says the Roddy Piper line from They Live. And it's cool, and we're trying to make it be like James Bond and stuff, but I don't know, guys. What do you think about this whole thing with Cesaro and the James Bond, and he's wearing the shades now, and the tearaway everything, and he did the tearaway thing again to reveal that his partners were the New Day. What do you think about this, Paul?
I think it's cool. It makes him stand out. It's different. Nobody else is doing this, and I think that's what's important with Cesaro right now is reestablishing him, making him stand out, and then maybe you find somewhere for him to go.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Miz was good. I think it wasn't bad. It's just, again, it's like that. I just wish the stuff wouldn't come off so forced sometimes, It doesn't seem natural, the way they talk to each other.
It didn't at times. You're right, and that's kind of what I felt like.
The best part of the thing was Maurice backstage making the guy put his suit on top of the spilled drink so Miz could walk over it because he's not going to get himself dirty before he goes out there to do Miz TV. I mean, it was small, but it worked,
Maurice makes Miz so much more interesting. They're so much better together as a couple. It's so much better when you have somebody to be a dick with and you can just hate them more. That's the best.
Oh, I totally agree. You could definitely tell, especially in the backstage segment, in this segment, that definitely she's an asset to him. And it's not the same old hat with Miz. Now you got a new dynamic. You got someone to kind of play off of him. I think it works perfect. I think it's a good deal and very smart move on WWE's part with doing that. And so, and to speak about Cesaro, I guess the James Bond thing works. But I just want to mention this. It's funny when I see him in that. I keep thinking either Hitman or the Hitman, or I always think of the what you call it, the series with Jason Statham, where he drives the car.
That's exactly
Transporter.
who he looks like. It's a transporter with the bald
Yes.
head. Yeah.
Yep, that's what I think of every time, the Transporter.
I mean, it's true because James Bond was never bald. So, think about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either way, all Jason Statham ever did was kick ass. So, as long as Cesaro's doing that, that's
Exactly.
all that sort of matters.
Yeah. Unless he gets to the cranked, then if he gets cranked, then we're gonna have some issues.
Cranked is magical.
Yeah.
Love it.
I don't think we're
This is
ever
not
gonna.
free.
I don't think we're ever gonna have Cesaro in that scene where he's having sex in public or anything. But
Watch out, Summer Rae.
I'm pretty sure Sarah Amato would take exception.
Yeah.
So, moving on from all that, we sort of got into a bunch of different things at once, but we kind of already talked about the tag tournament stuff. I mean, we know who's gone on from there. Cesaro and Miz is already established from last week because that's happening at Payback. So at least we've kind of got almost all the main matches set for Payback now. So that's good at least. We're not trying to cram this all in at the last minute. We do have Baron basically squashing Fandango, which that's what he needs to do. You get a little bit of a video for Apollo Crews, and then he goes out and again has a sort of 50-50 match with Heath Slater, just because they sort of have a storyline from the pre-show where because Adam Rose, is out, they've been trying to recruit Apollo Crews, I guess, for a while. And he tells them, well, if you can't beat me, you need to leave me alone forever. Forever, ever, and ever. Yeah. And again, this is something where it's like, Apollo Crews is just there. Especially when you're having Heath Slater look like he can actually fight with him. It's just, why? Doesn't this seem weird, Paul? Like, why are you going to have Baron squash people, but then Apollo Crews can't squash people?
I'm sorry, I fell asleep. What are we talking about? It's just that it's boring. Like, you're not making Apollo seem powerful. You're not making him seem cool. He's feuding with a social outcast and not beating the bejesus out of him, which is what they should be there for. And for some reason, because they got a little bit of hype around him with the bow train and whatever else they think that they have there, they're shortcutting a new guy on the roster who needs to look strong very quickly to fit in and stay interesting, because you're bringing in all these other people. He's just going to get thrown by the wayside.
They also seem to be limiting his arsenal a bit. Like, they don't want him to... I understand they don't want him to turn into Neville, where people just expect he's going to do the aerial stuff all the time. But that's kind of sort of his thing. He can do the power and the aerial.
Right.
And they don't let him show it off enough, so you don't even get that whole, like, oh man, this guy's, like, huge, but he can freaking fly. Like, you didn't even get that. Like, what you get with Neville, where he at least gets over because he's freaking awesome. Even if he's in feuds that don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
This all boils down to him being brought up prematurely, for me personally. Baron Corbin, okay, in my personal opinion of Baron Corbin is, you have him come out and do what he did. I think it works a little bit better, and it's weird to say because Apollo Crews could technically be the future, whereas maybe Baron Corbin's going to hit his ceiling if he hasn't hit his ceiling already.
That's also because Baron Corbin just has that attitude like, screw you, man. You know,
yeah, exactly.
He looks like that dude that should just, you see him, he should beat you in 10 seconds, and that's what he's going to do. You know?
Yeah, but you know, I don't know that any of us at this moment in time really see Baron Corbin being the next guy to be holding the World Heavyweight Championship up high above his head in the near future. Whereas I think Apollo Crews has that potential, maybe faster and sooner, but still I think he's the most premature. The reason I say this is because of just what Paul said. Very boring. He doesn't have the personality to really get himself over with the crowd right away. He's a smiley guy. He's a really nice guy, but you know what they say, nice guys finish last. And I think the way I would have done this, and this is just my personal booking, I would have made Apollo Crews almost unbeatable in NXT. I would have had him come in and beat Joe. I would have had him and maybe even beat Balor for the NXT title. You make him the biggest star on NXT. And so much of a star that when he does hit the main roster, people are freaking out, can't believe he's there. In fact, the NXT title leaves him because someone nefariously beats him, and it's not on good terms, it's not clean. I think that's the way you do it. They didn't do it that way, so now people are just like, who's this guy? Sean, me and you sat there, and I grumbled and complained during Raw after WrestleMania about this, and people by us were actually saying, who the heck is this guy? That's a problem.
Yeah, you mean Apollo or Baron?
Yeah, Apollo. I'm talking about Apollo.
Yeah.
Baron too, but we knew Baron. That wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I mean...
Go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say... No, it's fine. The Apollo call-up, I agree, was too soon, but you have all these people coming into NXT now. I bet you they were thinking that he's going to get lost in all of what they're doing over there, so we'll try him on the main roster. For Baron, I feel like he's too soon in ring-wise, but I think the character is there. It's so much easier to get a heel over than a face. And especially with the way they're going about it with Apollo Crews, it's going to be nigh impossible. But I think with Baron, he's got enough there to where he can at least work in the lower mid-card to mid-card for now.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you don't do anything with Apollo and Neville comes back, I think they would be a great big man, little man tag team. If you're not going to do anything with Apollo. If you still haven't figured out a character for him, put them both in the tag division and let them go out there and wow everybody. I don't see how that can really hurt. At least it can do something for both the guys.
I agree. I think that a tag team right now would be in favor of Apollo. That way he's not having to do it all by himself. He's not having to get over just by being Apollo Crews. You can have someone that kind of play off him. You know what? If Apollo Crews had a good manager, maybe we could say something different. But right now he doesn't, and that's probably not going to ever happen. So, yeah, I think you're right, Sean. I think a good tag team partner would definitely help build his game, and then later on, singles move perfect.
I think it's a way to make him just seem so much more interesting together. Like, you know, you can do this, I can do this. Let's go out there and do it. And, you know, at least it would be fun and entertaining, and that's what you want there. I think that's what the WWE wants out of their tag team right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, we'll see. I really hope the best for Apollo Crews. I'm a fan. I'm not complaining about Apollo Crews. I think he has so much potential. I'm nervous about where he's at right now. I don't want people to just kind of blow this guy off. He has too much talent. To me, he's a main event guy in the future, and I don't want to see him squandered.
I don't know about main event. I think he has the look and everything. I don't know if the promo ability is there yet, but he certainly brings a lot to the table that he would certainly be, you know, I won't say he's can't miss like Finn is, but he does bring a whole bunch to the table that I would hope that WWE doesn't squander.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, I'll be honest with you, I kind of look at him and I Bobby Lashley, kind of guy. I hope that he's better. And I know he's better maybe athletically even than Bobby Lashley because he can do a lot more high flying. But that's what I'm kind of looking at here.
Yeah. I mean, right now, at least he doesn't talk like a girl, unlike Bobby Lashley.
God.
But, I think he is Bobby Lashley, maybe a little bit more athletic from an aerial standpoint. Bobby Lashley's probably, they're sort of very, very similar. But I think he can do what Bobby Lashley couldn't if he really goes in there and tries to find something for himself. Because that was the thing with Bobby Lashley. He sort of never really did. He coasted on being Bobby Lashley, and Vince loving the fact that he basically had Black Brock Lesnar. Let's be honest. That's basically what Vince wanted out of him. And, Apollo's going to have to do more than that. He's going to have to develop some kind of edge. He's going to have to they have to let him start beating guys. Not, hey, we're just going to have matches towards the end of Raw when no one cares. And that's the thing, no one cared. Like, they were chanting for JBL. This is when they started, because they didn't care they're the main event either. They started chanting for other things. Like, this is one of those times where, not like last week where it didn't feel like 3 hours. When that 10 o'clock hour hit, I'm talking Eastern, sorry, it did start to feel like, we're getting to that part where Raw's feeling too long again. And the crowd let everybody know it too.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. And, like I said, I feel bad for this guy. He walks out, and these crowds that are hyped for all these NXT guys have nothing for him at all. I mean, the poor kid comes out to just his music and about little spattering of maybe someone, hi, yay, or whatever. But besides that, it's just silent.
Weird. They even took the smoke away from him. That at least he gets that smoke thing in NXT. He doesn't even have that. It's like, you might want to add a little bit of something to his entrance or something to make him stand out, He's just very bland,
When you could say they at least made Bobby look dangerous whenever they had him. They haven't done that for Apollo yet.
Right. So I think the last sort of, other than, I think WWE has finally sold me, guys, I think we need to book a trip to Puerto Rico. I think
I'm down.
That, yeah, we all need to go to Puerto Rico, and we can't come back without finding Carlito and convincing him to somehow re-sign with WWE, because this is about the only way that I think the Primo and Epico team is going to get anywhere. Because all I get out of these things is that I need to go to Puerto Rico. It doesn't make me care about Primo and Epico at all.
I still don't know where's the interest? You're right. It's a travel ad for Puerto Rico, and that's it. Where do Primo and Epico get over in this? I don't know.
That's my thing.
Maybe they're trying to swerve us, and the last one, Carlito's going to show up at the end. Because that is the only way that I will care. If his face with that hair and he spits out a piece of an apple, I will pop for that. Other than that, you guys can do this for months. It ain't moving the needle.
How does spitting out an apple make us want to go to Puerto Rico, though? That just makes me think Puerto Rico has bad apples.
See, there you go.
I
love it. No,
maybe Vince is angling for that WWC tape library that he never got.
Maybe.
Yeah, you never know with Vince. I've been to Puerto Rico, and it is a nice place, and it just makes me yawn a little bit. Even though I love the place, it was a lot of fun when I went, but still, this is nothing. Like you guys are saying, what's the payoff here? There is none unless you have a surprise. So we'll see. And just a quick thought for anybody wanting to go to Puerto Rico, if you go and check out that big standing castle they have out there that's pretty far down in the like an hour away from the coast, be careful. They have lots of guys with machine guns and all that, and don't let your tour bus break down like ours did. It was kind of awkward with a bunch of prisoners around us, and kind of stuck, couldn't leave.
Man, that doesn't
fair
sound
advice
good
for
at
any
all.
situation.
Yeah, it worked out
tour
well.
bus breakdown.
I know. Thank God I'd paid for the, it was on a cruise, and I had paid for this excursion through the cruise. So it was up to them to get me back to the boat. Thank God. But, the only thing that saved me was saying that I was the hurricane. So they left me alone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Gregory Helms, thank you. Thank you for the catchphrase.
Fair enough. The only thing we haven't talked about is the women's stuff for this show, which sort of might have been the most compelling stuff on this show. Natty has a little has a little backstage segment with Charlotte, where basically, Charlotte makes fun of the fact that she beat Natty again, and Natty comes in and is like, oh, well, because of what happened last week, I now have a match with you at Payback. And Charlotte's like, well, I'm supposed to be scared. Well, Natty basically intimidates her by saying that Bret Hart is going to be in her corner, and then Daddy Flair, is like frozen.
What?
Like, Charlotte continually does that thing where she tries to keep putting her hand in his face, wave her hand in his face, and he doesn't flinch. And she's sitting there going like, hello, sort of like, why is this bothering you? We're Flairs. She doesn't say that, but that's kind of like what she's trying to get at.
You just made it sound like they're going to freeze Ric Flair at ringside. Like they're going to throw him in a freezer and he's going to sit there in an ice cube.
That'd be great if he did, though. It'd be great if he did.
We're like, we got to cryogenically freeze this guy and keep him around for a little bit longer.
We're going to throw him in the tube. Everything's going to be fair, guys.
Oh, man. No, you're right, though, Sean. This is interesting, because they're kind of playing Flair in an odd role here. And with the knowledge that Bret Hart's going to be, back at ringside and, kind of rooting on Natty.
I think they could have waited for that till next week.
Yeah.
Like, have a little bit of a surprise for next week that Natty is going to have Bret at ringside. How funny is it that you have her dad all over Total Divas? He is a comedy gold on that show, but he can never show up on WWE TV.
Probably SmackDown, but not on Raw. That's live, and they're probably nervous what he's going to do.
I mean, that's a fair assessment, I think. It's almost 2 years to the date that they had that match back at the first NXT TakeOver. And, if they even come close to sniffing that, because this is pretty much that whole thing over again with, minus the tournament, but they got both the families in the corner. And if they have that same sort of match or surpass that, then I think the women's division is going to be in good shape, because that's certainly something that will establish different, and I like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then the 8 women tag that they have with Paige, Natalya, Sasha Banks, and Becky against Summer Rae. Who else is in this? Tamina, Naomi, and
Charlotte.
And Charlotte. So basically, Charlotte taps out this time to the sharpshooter in the middle of the ring. I thought everybody had a little bit of a moment in this. it sort of felt like one of those New Japan 8-man tags where people get moments, and you have the finish that basically cements the fact that this is, even though normally for New Japan it would be, okay, the match happened after this finish here, but this kind of sets up the whole, like, okay, well, Natty might win this. Natty has a chance. She looks strong here, and this is good. Again, aside from my point of why Emma should have been in this match instead of Summer Rae, I thought this was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. You're right. It was pretty good. The funny thing is the biggest thing I got to complain about is the fact that Charlotte tapped out so very quickly. I mean, it was like sharpshooter on tap. And it didn't take any time.
Well, but remember, Charlotte says she doesn't care if it doesn't matter. If she's not defending her title, she doesn't care. Remember that.
I guess you're right on that. It's just that I just think she should have maybe try to do something. But you're right. If it's about just, hey, let's get out of this match, then okay.
Yeah, either way, this sounds like smart booking. We rag on New Japan doing those tags all the time, but they certainly do drive in interest and are leading to something, which is really all I can ask for right now. This is going somewhere, and I approve.
Agreed. So that pretty much is Raw in a nutshell there. What kind of rating do we want to give this show?
Well, it's kind of unfair for Paul right now.
Yeah,
because he has not had a chance to check it out. We'll probably get Paul's rating on Thursday. For me personally, it wasn't a terrible episode. It was a little chaotic, but that's what we're kind of getting right now. Overall, I think a 7. I think for me, it was not a bad episode. I walked away pretty happy with a few things, and it wasn't bad enough to give it a 6. I think a 7 is good for me.
I gave it a 7 in the Facebook poll because we don't do halves on those things. But because of the fact that you had Sami Zayn and Owens both lose and it doesn't make them look good at all, that's where I have to go with the 6. It wasn't a bad show at all. I thought it was a good show, actually. I don't mind this whole kind of helter-skelter thing because you're still trying to establish all these people and all this stuff, but that last hour kind of dragged, and some of the things could have been done better. I mean, they're setting things up. It's all building nicely to that last Go Home Raw, but this one was not anywhere near what the one that we loved from last week.
Yeah, definitely. So
it sounds questionable booking, and it sounds meh so far, but there are some interesting parts in here, so looking forward to skipping through stuff.
Yeah, hey, see, there you go. So you get that luxury. And then, of course, like I said, we'll probably get Paul's reaction to, Raw and his rating, everything full on Thursday. So, well, guys, we do have a few other things to do on this show. We're going to talk some TNA in a minute here because they have some big, important news going down with their company. And probably even kind of technically the future of it. So we'll be getting into that. And, of course, we have a few more quick hits that are very interesting. You don't want to miss those. But before we do all that, guys, I want to say this. We are starting this show once again on Mondays, and it is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it because we get a quick reaction of Raw. We get to kind of really think about these things fresh. We get to spend more time on Raw. You guys have not really had an opportunity to hear all three of us really take the time and break down Raw like we're doing tonight. Now we finally get an opportunity to take our time, break down things, kind of converse a little bit. We're not rushing through it to get to the next segment. This is nice. But since we're doing this kind of takes away from us promoting other guys that we like to promote because guess what? They're doing the show either right before us or right around the time we're doing this show. And I want to give a special shout out to the guys over at the Raw Reaction. We always send you guys over at their way to do Raw. Now that we're doing Raw, we don't want you not to go check those guys out. They are amazing. We're very good friends with Mr. Harry Broadhurst, Tony Acero, of course, Rick. All three of those guys are amazing. We really appreciate those guys, and we want you guys to go check those guys out as well. So, hey, you get a double dose of Raw if you listen to us and the Raw Reaction. You know, there's going to be a lot more different points of view over on the Raw Reaction, I guarantee you. So you don't want to miss their show as well. We just want to cross-promote because we appreciate those guys. And, of course, you know, don't forget, you know, we do have the show coming up on Thursday. If you're a little nervous and saying, well, these guys kind of covered everything I listened to, they're not really going to cover anything on Thursday now. No, that's not right. Once again, we're doing lots of wrestling topics, things that we're not going to be able to talk about on this show. So trust me, lots of great things are coming.
It just depends. Like, this weekend happened to include a lot of news. A lot of times there may not be crap for us to talk about except for Raw on the show. And then everything else will come out by the time we get to Thursday, and then there'll be more to do on Thursday. But the main reason we're doing this is so that this show and the Thursday show can be shorter for you guys, which we've already kind of like, we went way past the limit here, but I think it's also because we had to spend time sort of explaining at the beginning, but, you know.
Yeah. Where are we at right now, Sean?
We are at an hour and 10 minutes right now.
Okay, well, we're going to hurry up and get past all this. Just let everybody know. That's a rundown of what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and jump into this TNA news. And if we're going to do TNA, we got to listen to that music, right?
Yes, I will say that I just added. I did not know that this existed until just now when somebody in the Facebook group alerted me. There is apparently a Google Play Music that now does podcasts, or they've been doing podcasts for a year. I did not know about this, but I just submitted this podcast to Google Play Music, so perhaps by the time we get to Thursday, it'll be approved, and that's another avenue you can listen to us on, is Google Play. You can go find us in Google Play and listen to us there on Android. So I guess it's basically the alternative to Stitcher, because Stitcher kind of used to be the only way you could listen on Android. So... But anyway, let's get on with this big topic about TNA that we got to talk about.
All right.
TNA Impact Wrestling.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to get into this, and this is big news because we've been talking about for the last, 3 or 4 weeks about the future of TNA and how they are going to get past their financial woes. Now, we've heard about them trying to sell the company, get some investors. Dixie Carter wants 51% because she wants to still have control of the company, but get some help financially. Well, this looks like it's getting more and more bleak because of the fact that TNA basically has run out of money. In fact, all their shows as of late have been paid for by an investor. And this investor is actually a couple of guys that have actually been a part of TNA before. They're actually former tag team partners of TNA, and that is, of course, the Harris brothers, Don and Ron. You may know them from WB as DOA. These guys actually own a company, I believe it's called Aerolux Marketing. And so this company has been supporting TNA, kind of giving them a little bit of help. Now, there's a catch here, guys. It's not them doing this out of their goodwill. Because they've been giving the TNA money, they've actually been expecting some back. TNA is responsible to pay back the debt that this company has given them. Now, it is rumored that TNA, if they do not pay this money back, which some people are saying this week, some people are saying a little longer, if they don't give the money back, guess what? Now this company now owns TNA, and Dixie Carter is out of luck. This is all interesting because of many various reasons, but guys, I mean, this is no surprise. I mean, really, we figured something would have to happen. Dixie would probably end up losing her share. This is not official yet. She's not officially lost her share. I got to know, though, what's your thoughts on this whole process? What's going on here?
This is insanely interesting, mostly because what if, obviously it doesn't look like TNA can pay. It doesn't sound like TNA can pay from what we've heard in the past couple of months, at least, that money is not coming in, and they're having trouble again paying talent and all this other stuff. And if Dixie loses control, what changes, and is it good? Because I don't have a lot of faith in the Harris brothers personally.
I mean, I don't know what to think about it either, because we don't know jack about what the Harris brothers can do. We just know that they've been in charge of production for a while. We know them as former wrestlers and what they were basically around WWF at the time for, and that, they were going to be all about creative control and all that stuff, We don't know much about them, what their wrestling minds are, anything like that. Would they just be people that would be interested in just owning the company and sort of let other people be the creative minds, or what would they really want to get their hands on, per se? And that's something we gotta know and figure out. And
yeah,
I don't know.
It's interesting, and for the reasons you're talking about here, Sean, because of the fact that these guys have worked as competitors and they've also worked behind the scenes of production. So it's not like they're new to this game and how things work in TNA and, of course, around other wrestling promotions. It's just the fact that if this is the case, these guys do get the role as owners of this company. Are they going to do a complete overhaul like we're hearing? Because a lot of people are saying if TNA is owned by these guys, they're going to completely change everything. I'm sure we'll get a new name. We'll probably even have some roster changes. A lot of other people behind the scenes will probably be let go. I don't know. Maybe they don't like Billy Corgan. Maybe they, would not be even interested in working with him. Maybe they'll have other processes that, we're going to take. Maybe they put Billy Corgan in charge of everything. Maybe they do, some other interesting things. So I don't know. I think overall, even if these guys don't take over, or maybe Dixie stays in control, they need to consider some of these things, even like changing the name or maybe making some bigger roster moves. But they've got to have the money to do it. That's the biggest thing here. They just don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, and if they start making all these big changes and they, say they decide to rebrand it, what changes in that? Because if it's just a new name but the same TNA stuff, then what good are you doing? And you have so many other, I think the article I read said that they were thinking about replacing the head of creative if they took over, and all this other stuff, and it's it sounds messy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
messy.
John Gavork is not a creative guy. He wasn't in WWE. He was the guy in charge of talent. He was that guy that was on Tough Enough 1 telling everybody, hey, how you doing? This is the challenge you're doing today. He was kind of just put in that position because, again, Dixie hiring a former WWE person. And that's kind of been the knock on him, right? Everybody keeps talking about, well, he's not ready for this. This is not his place. And so that's kind of what they're going after, too, trying to get rid of him. It is messy. It's obviously that they, the big thing is if Dixie doesn't have majority ownership, the company's going to change. And a lot of what's been wrong with TNA is Dixie owning them. To me, the biggest problem is the brand is damaged. If you rebrand, what are you doing with that? Is there really a way for TNA to be different? I mean, you pretty much got almost every kind of freaking wrestling there is at this point. Like, is there something TNA can do that's going to make them stand out? That's what I wonder.
Is there something they can do that makes them stand out that Pop TV will let them air? I think that's the most important factor, is the TV deal and how all that will affect, or if they even still have a TV deal if Dixie Carter isn't in charge anymore. I don't know how all this is going to work. And I think that's the exciting and scary part, because I mean the option is there, of course, to just completely fold the place, call it a day, and move on. But obviously, I'm sure the company wants a return on the money that they're putting up. So you got to try something.
Yeah, definitely. This is just going to be a very interesting week because, we've been talking about this for a long time, the possibility of this happening, and this all could just come down this week. I mean, next show we may be talking about this again, but having all the details in front of us, or maybe just at least even part of them. But there'll probably be more official news. I don't know. It may not even happen this week. But the crazy thing is that I think this is all leading down a road of TNA has to change. And the way you guys were talking about, the way that maybe some other people around, the net and, of course, social media are talking about, all those are possibilities that could very well happen. And so I look at this, and Sean, I mean, this is also another part of this topic, though, that, there's been word that, the Harris brothers are kind of really putting their name out there as the reason TNA's staying afloat, because they've been paying for the tapings. But it's also to kind of maybe keep some other investors away.
Right, yeah. I mean, Dixie's obviously going to keep looking for investors until she can't anymore that may not have a problem with just having the minority share. And the problem with TNA is everything that Dixie's been about has proven that it doesn't work, and that she mismanages things, and that she doesn't know what she's doing. And what I was trying to get out before that for some reason I couldn't think about is that apparently Panda Energy separated themselves from TNA like 5 years ago. Like, we thought Panda Energy was around until about a couple weeks ago. No, it's been 5 years. It doesn't mean that her parents haven't been paying out of pocket. Just Panda Energy hasn't been the one, with their name attached to things. Which, if I was Panda Energy, I don't blame them. We've been talking about TNA being off the rails for probably about that long, right?
Yeah.
Like 2011, 2012, So that doesn't really surprise me per se. It's just more about like, man, they really are on their last legs. Jeez.
Yeah.
It really seems dire.
Yeah, I mean, out of money is not something you ever want to hear from any company. Let alone that you have other companies paying to keep you afloat while you're trying to find a deal anywhere, seemingly. And I guess the most attractive thing I think TNA has is all the overseas TV deals. They do well every time they go to England. They're big in India apparently too, and they have I'm sure they have all sorts of deals everywhere. But certainly an attractive prospect there if you're looking to do something in those areas. But I don't know what TNA really brings to the table anymore without a fresh and complete restart and a rebranding and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing too is just even when they went to England, it was severely low compared to all the other years. So that was a big sign right there. Like, there is something wrong with the company.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly, Sean. And that is a scare, especially in a market that really has supported TNA when a lot of other markets haven't. So there has to be some changes, definitely, and they've got to figure it out. If they want to stay afloat, if they want to stay in business. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here, but at least we have some progress. At least we have some more information coming our way. Like I said, we'll have more stuff come our way soon. I bet you anything next Thursday we'll be talking about this again. It would not surprise me.
No, I mean, this was big news all day. This has been changing all day, new things added all day. So they're saying that it could take up the whole week for things to get situated. So.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But,
well,
but
you know,
Gary, you were talking about Progress.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to get into some more quick hits here, and that's why I wanted to kind of get us through this really quickly. So basically, guys, we plan to do a lot more quick hits, and I'm going to hit on the hot topics here. But we're going to save a majority of the ones that we have on our doc. We kind of have a doc here we kind of go through for our Thursday show, but we're going to hit some of the hot topics. So, Sean, let's go ahead and do some other quick hits real quick. I don't know if you want to play the music or we just want to go into this.
Play the. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
I think we can go 140, 145 or something this time because we did waste about a good 5 or so minutes explaining things at the beginning.
Yeah, you're the man with the clock. So how much time does that?
If we go over a little bit, it's gonna be okay. So
how much
if you want to make it 140, we got 15 minutes.
All right, 15 minutes. Okay, deal. Okay, guys, well, let's go ahead and talk about what Sean was alluding to earlier. The fact that the Cruiserweight Series has been, a big deal. We've been talking about it for quite a while. Progress Wrestling and, of course, Evolve have all, been a part of this process, and they've named some matches, Sean. Kind of give us an idea of what's going on with this.
Well, I mean, Paul would be more the guy to tell you because he kind of got to see, if not all, or at least most of these guys during the Evolve shows at WrestleMania weekend, some tasty matchups here between the two federations or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I've been binge watch. Progress has their own little network. You can watch all their shows through their little thing that they have on Pivot Share, which I highly recommend. Progress is insanely good. I think I've watched about 20 shows in the past 3 weeks. They're
they
incredible.
do their thing in chapters, right? So, like, do the chapters mean something, or
the chapters are just show names essentially? That's all it is. They have a couple of different things under their umbrella too. They have a Endeavor brand which uses trainers from their training gym. They call it the Projo. So they have their trainers and their trainees on that show. The chapters, of course, are their main shows. And they're sort of branching out more now. They used to work exclusively in London. They're moving around to Manchester now and some other areas. But they're insanely well done shows. Lots of great talent on there. For Progress 29, they have Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Flash Morgan Webster and Jake Gallagher taking on Pete Dunne. Sabre, of course, is well known, I think, around the States now. As well as just probably in indie wrestling if you follow that. He's an incredibly talented technical wrestler. Flash Morgan Webster is a more speedy guy. I've seen a couple of his matches so far. He's quite good. Dunne, I've seen a few things from. He's more like a all-arounder. Jack Gallagher, I haven't seen anything from yet. But I think both Sabre and Dunne are going to go over there. And these are qualifiers to get into the Global Cruiserweight Series, not actual first round of the Global Cruiserweight Series. So I want to make that clear. And then Evolve 61, you have Drew Gulak and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, who are the tag champs in Evolve and are both in Catch Point. So that will be interesting. And then Fred Yehai, who was really impressive this past weekend at WrestleMania, taking on TJ Perkins, who's now TJP there, who's also in Catch Point. And they have a bit of an angle going around him, teaming up with Stokely Hathaway on the Dream Team now. So I'm sure it'll be TJP and Gulak out of those, as they have more name, I think.
Definitely, man. So there's a lot of good stuff out of that, and I'm excited about it. I think that we're definitely getting closer to that Cruiserweight Series just by looking at that, and it's already looking great. So. I mean, Sean, what are you looking forward to out of this? I mean, do you have any guys that you're kind of looking at like, man, I'm kind of interested in that guy?
I've heard WWE really likes Fred Yehai, so he may not even make it. And, I've heard that's the only reason. I mean, TJ Perkins is obviously the big name. from being in TNA before, being Suicide and Manic and all that under the mask. But WWE really likes Freddie High. I've seen him a couple of times. He's really cool. I mean, obviously Zack Sabre is going to be awesome. I thought he'd already been confirmed, so this is weird that they're doing this, but it seems like a formality thing with him. I don't think you can really go wrong with anybody. I like the fact that we're just going to get different styles and different matchups with people. This is really going to be a huge thing. It's amazing. Like they've also we don't know where the Rare Pro matches yet. And if like Marty Scurll gets in that thing, I mean that's gonna be amazing if we get to see him. Which Rare Pro also has their own on-demand thing online too. So if you wanted to get into British wrestling, right now is the time, because both Progress and Rare Pro, I think ICW has their thing too, right? So
ICW's on Pivot Share. IPW UK is also on Pivot Share. There are a lot of major American indies on there too, like East Coast Wrestling Association. I think CZW is also on there, and I believe so is a couple Canadian promotions as well.
Yeah, so I mean, this is supposed to be the year that, and it's already been proven, it already is, but this is supposed to be the year that British wrestling gets on the map. And if you want to check out what that's all about, I think you have ways to do that if you want to see what they're all about before they even start in the tournament. And even after that, when you see them and you want to go, oh man, I want to see more of these guys, it's all available there to you. So I think that does help these companies. We had a topic talking about that. Does it really help them? I think it will, because you'll get more subscriptions to those on-demand services, I think, after you see these guys and they go back to those promotions. Not everybody's going to get signed to NXT out of this.
Yeah. They're relatively inexpensive too. Like I'm paying $7.50 a month for Progress. So
wow, that's pretty good. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. So guys, definitely take these guys' advice. Go check that stuff out. It's definitely worth it. And the stars of tomorrow are right there. Well, you know what? There's some other things that we got to jump into, guys. We're kind of limited on time right now. There's something that's kind of, sad, and we should have mentioned this earlier, and that's my fault. I apologize that I did not mention that, but there was a big earthquake this past weekend in Japan.
Actually.
Yeah, two. You're right, and it's affected, a lot of the people over there. I know 40 killed, and for sure, and I'm sure that number is not exactly nailed down. I'm sure they have some more that we don't know about. But my point being is, definitely our prayers and wishes to those people over there in Japan. That we love Japanese wrestling. Sean's a huge fan of everything Japan because, you're in a video game, Sean. You're into a lot of that other Japanese culture, and that's great, and that's exciting. And actually, what happened here is New Japan decided to go ahead and cancel their pay-per-view coming up. You have to probably say it for me, Paul. Hinokuni.
Yeah.
Wrestling Hinokuni. Oh, there you go. At least I got something right here. Yeah, what's the name of the town? Was it Kumamoto?
Yes.
Kumamoto?
See, Gary's going to be the Japanese language whiz.
Yeah. And I'm trying. Naito is forcing me to. But, saying all that, I mean, this is a big deal, and this is just good for New Japan to do this. Of course, we understand why. What do you guys think about that?
Certainly a wrinkle in the plans, but New Japan, I'm sure, will find a way. Really, I just, thoughts go out to everybody suffering over there. Japan has been through a lot in the past couple of years with natural disasters, so hopefully they can bounce back as strong as they did from the typhoons that hit them a few years ago.
Certainly, prayers go out to all those people. What Gary's referencing is I made a post on Facebook about all that we take for granted sometimes, all the stuff we enjoy, and we don't even think about the fact that there's humans that are behind all of that, And Hanma was actually over there promoting in Kumamoto, which is actually an island. It's an island over there. And they're saying he's safe, but he was kind of involved in that, and he said he at one point he did think he was gonna die. So that's a scary situation for New Japan, for him, and for everybody. And that's just one person. and it's crazy what's happening over there with them. But they do have options here. They have 2 shows back to back on New Japan World on Saturday and Sunday. They could split that card, take the big matches from that card, which there were plenty. That was the match. That was the show that had Michael Elgin and Kenny Omega for the IC title on it, along with other matches. You could take 2 or 3 of the matches from there, put them on one of them, and put the other ones on the other show. They could also decide to make Wrestling in Taco huge. I don't think they're going to do that, but it's not like, oh my god, because some of these matches, they're important. They have to happen. So they're going to have to figure out something, but they have options that are happening pretty close to there. So it's not, it could have been worse, I guess.
Exactly. So, and we'll see. They'll probably get us more information pretty soon here. And, of course, keep checking out our Facebook group. We'll probably put it there. Any changes, any big news that we hear coming out of New Japan, that'll be updated on our Facebook group, Wrestling to the Max. A couple more things we're going to get into before we get out of here, guys. And this is a big deal this past week that, really went down pretty close, I think, after we got off the air on our show on Thursday. Adam Rose and Connor from the Ascension have both been suspended for 60 days because of breaking the wellness policy. I have yet to hear a ton on this. We just know that that's the case. But man, this is not good. I don't think for Adam Rose particularly, and I don't think Connor as well. These guys kind of seem like they're hanging on to the thread anyway.
Yeah, the social outcasts aren't they are what they are. They're not going to be anything more. I think it's a bigger blow for Connor. I think he fits the WWE mold. He's a talented big man. I think they just have him stuck in a nowhere tag team that they refuse to do anything with. Maybe if that went south one day and you decide you want to keep Connor around, I think he could do something for you. It's just obviously wellness strikes. They haven't helped anybody before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking at Adam Rose, Sean, this guy, to me, they could have went a different direction with him. Whatever, the social outcast is not exactly a thriving group, but on the other hand, I think about the personal life of his and the fact that he's got a sick kid at home, and I'm kind of surprised he would do this.
We don't know what the substance was. We know, you and I both know from doing the football podcast how much these substances can just be anything, and they make you pop dirty. So unless they reveal the substance, which may come out, I'm sure. We'll see on Thursday if Dave has anything in the Observer or it comes on the Torch or whatever. We'll let you know on Thursday if that does come out. But both these guys are over 35. Both of them are also not doing anything. Or not doing anything major, especially Connor. You might see them get cut after the suspension's over. I don't know that. I feel so bad for Adam Rose. I hope that's not the case, just for his kid and for himself, his family, and everything. Not to say nothing about Connor, but we don't know his situation. I shouldn't say it like that, but just man, that this obviously affects Victor. It means he's going to be nowhere. So luckily for the social outcasts, they can just make it a trio or try to add somebody, or they could try to they could put Victor in there. They are the social outcasts. They can literally put anybody in there if they want to. Mm-hmm. It sucks for them, but this is crazy. It's 2012 since there's been an actual full-time wrestler that's wellness policy. So this, from what was said, this is more of a, I think it's more of a hey, remember this still exists, people, sort of thing. But you never know.
Exactly. Well, we're running short on time here, guys, so we're going to wrap this thing up pretty quickly here. I have a couple more things I was going to mention. I'm going to combine them real quick. And then, of course, we'll save some other other big quick hits for Thursday that are really not time sensitive. We're going to talk about a little bit of, the Raw revenue during the show. Like, what are these ads getting? Next Thursday, we're talking a new NXT tag team gimmick that's pretty interesting. We're also going to jump into some other big topics that you guys...
we're talking NXT on Thursday, so I mean...
Exactly. So we've got a lot of great stuff on, that we want to talk about, but we're going to save it till Thursday. I think these two things real quick I want to mention because they're a little bit more time sensitive than the rest of the stuff on our list here. Really quickly, just to let everybody know, if you watched Raw, you saw Total Bellas is a thing. It's going to happen. It'll be this next October. You're going to have that on the E! Network, so it's kind of a spin-off of the Total Divas show. That's coming out and coming your way. And then, of course, the Ring of Honor actually had some news come out that they just signed a multi-year deal with the Fight Network, and that's in Canada. So, kind of give me your thoughts on these things.
Ring of Honor continuing to grow, to branch out into different markets is always a good thing. They may not be viable competition, but they are a competitor, I think, now, and certainly someone to keep an eye on as they continue to grow, not only in Japan, but all over the world. It seems you can't go a month now without having Ring of Honor announcing they're on somewhere else, which is always cool. So, what was the other thing? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it.
Total Bellas.
I will continue not to care about Total Bellas. So,
right there.
Well, I will care about Total Bellas. This will be a total train wreck. This is basically them taking the Kardashians concept. Everybody living in John Cena's house. I wonder how much they had to pay everybody for that to happen, because I cannot imagine Daniel Bryan wanting to live there. And I cannot imagine John Cena wanting all those people there, including Johnny Ace and Mama Bella. So that's just going to be a lot of basically shit hitting the fan all the time. Literally and figuratively. And ROH will actually go right after TNA, so it'll be just like the Destination America deal. It'll be a 4-hour deal for Fight Network. They'll have TNA on first, ROH, and then AAA will come on after them. So if you live in Canada, I think TNA goes on from 10 to midnight, then ROH for an hour, and then AAA comes on at 1 in the morning. So, hey, Randall, if you have Fight Network, now you can watch all this stuff.
Yeah, there you go. So that's awesome. Well, that's pretty much all our quick hits. And, of course, that's our show, guys. We definitely appreciate you coming and checking us out. Yeah, this is the first of many. This is actually nice, guys. I really enjoyed this. Just really getting a chance to sit down, talk Raw, and not rush it. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, next Thursday, you don't want to miss that show. It is going to be big. It is going to be a blast. We're going to have plenty of quick hits on that show. And, of course, we're going to run down Lucha Underground, TNA Impact, and Ring of Honor was this week. And that wasn't even a show. That was a recap, so that's why we're not covering that.
A recap of the Honor Rising matches that happened 2 months ago, literally.
Yeah, so that's why we did. But you have Lucha Underground next Thursday. You've got TNA Impact next Thursday. And, of course, a lot more great stuff coming your way.
You got all the news, all that stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here. Always remember, though, that we have the W2M Network at your availability. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe now. Of course, please go rate and review. We've got lots of great stuff. Sean and I are going to be doing another Football to the Max show, and that is going to be coming up right after this, and it'll be available for the download. And, Sean, anything else you want to get in before we get out of here?
Check out Wrestling Unwrapped. If you are not WrestleMania 32 to out, Patrick, Harry, and I gave some more thoughts on WrestleMania 32 on the Wrestling Unwrapped that was done on Sunday. And yeah,
all right.
Just check out the W2 Network,
All right, cool stuff, guys. All right, well, we got, we'll definitely see you guys Thursday. And always remember, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.